George, Terry, you're shaking the house down. Stop it.
For Paramount Pictures Archive. It's a corporate archive. Our job is to make sure that everybody who needs access to our elements to distribute them can, first and foremost. But we do have another responsibility. We do have cinema legacy on our shoulders that absolutely does keep us up at night, and worried about the state of our films. And we wouldn't be doing that if we didn't take that seriously, because we do. It's a Wonderful Life. My God. Well, I mean, come on, it's an incredible film, and it's a privilege and an honor to take care of it, but it's also a huge burden, and we want to make sure we do it well.
It's a Wonderful Life is one of the gems in our archive, for sure. So it's a movie to which we've paid a lot of attention over the years. So we check the negative every few years, we make sure everything's okay, and when we found out that things were not okay with the negative, it really did seem, in combination with the technology being ready, the time was right for 4K restoration.
He never grew up. How old are you anyway, Clarence?
293, next May.
That does it. Out you two pixies go, through the door or out the window.
Nitrate was the film that was used for making every movie that was made before 1950. 35 millimeter feature films, studio productions were all made on nitrate film. It does have a higher silver content, hence the phrase silver screen. So it does, in certain places, have a sparklier, more lustery look to it.
Well, hello.
Hello. You look at me as if you didn't know me.
Well, I don't.
I think it's also so much about how great the production values were on this film and how well the film was shot that is a credit to the look of the film as much as the actual flammable film that was going through the camera at the time.
The base upon which it was shot.
Yeah.
Right. The craftsmanship, and this movie is really a testament to the thought that craftsmanship matters. There were 3 different cinematographers who worked on this movie, and yet the look throughout is remarkably consistent and even.
It is.
And some of that is testament to the individual artistry of the 3 of them, but also to Frank Capra's, vision of how this movie should look.
The nitrate original negative of this film, sadly, has begun to deteriorate. And nitrate deterioration really means eventually the image will be gone. So it was an urgent issue to make sure that we were capturing the best possible image digitally from that original negative. If we go into other elements, which we had to use in this film, and we often have to use in this film, we'll never have that same resolution and information that you have in the original negative.
Today we'll be viewing a roll of film for It's Wonderful Life. We're using a Scanity. It's one of the safest machines we have in-house due to it not having any metal parts, metal sprockets, or any pins registering the film. So it's a hub, and it's completely safe for these older films, for these films with problematic perfs. It's really, really good.
Scanning is actually a relatively straightforward process. With the modern scanners of today, they are not pin registered, so you're not really dragging the film through. There's not a physical intervention against the film. So it's handled very gently on these rollers that just sort of glide everything through while the image is being captured.
When nitrate deterioration happens, of course, film has sprockets. If the film shrinks, so do the sprockets. So that's why you want to treat the film so gently. Getting away from pins is a huge moment for archival film. Yeah. We knew that just capturing it meant we weren't going to destroy it while we were at it.
And there's actually, on the scanner that we use for this, the Scanity, there is a second camera that captures the perforations as it goes through the scanner and then uses that information to kind of optically stabilize the scan image. So that stabilization, which in the past would have been accomplished by using pins to register things, that is now handled digitally. We were lucky in the case of It's a Wonderful Life that 13 of the 14 reels of original negative have survived. Now, portions of those surviving reels were starting to deteriorate at the ends. So we were missing image in parts at the ends of certain reels. And again, we were lucky, I guess, to say we had 2 second-generation elements that were made right after the time the negative was made. So they were both nitrate. They were fine grains made in the 40s. So we had 2 of those to choose from as alternates where either footage was missing or footage was badly damaged. So we actually scanned all of it. All the negative that survived and both fine grain. So we went through and on a shot-by-shot basis picked, okay, this one's better for this shot, this one's better for that shot.
Even where there was some deterioration in the original negative, the digital restoration tools are mature enough to actually fix that. In the past, we would have had to make much harder choices. We would have said, all right, we're going to lose the resolution, but man, the tear or the deterioration in this frame, we can't fix it. Now, that's the other advantage of being in this time and doing this work on this film is we can actually fix things we were never able to fix before and keep that resolution. That's why we really appreciate a negative like this, too, because we know all our negatives are this perfectly made, right? You know, there'll be movies where it was low light, it was stocks from a certain era, and it's just green-tastic when we get it up there. And although that is filmic, combined with the way things are scanned, it becomes more noise than film grain. And we're constantly fighting that battle to not take too much grain away, but not blind the audience with little dots. The advances in high dynamic range have really enabled films to be seen in a different way. And it's very exciting to actually look at something like It's a Wonderful Life that you and I and everyone has seen hopefully hundreds of times in this absolutely amazing view. It just gives such a much broader range of the grayscale. It's a black and white movie of detail.
What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon?
What we have now is spotless. There's no dirt. The grain is minimized. It's much better than what the first audiences saw. I mean, to them it was great, but now we can make it up to today's standards. It looks great. It looks much better than they saw.
So can you go back to them getting thrown out and sort of walk through it kind of frame by frame so we can see?
Sure. So this here, it was really damaged. It was very jittery, and we had to stabilize it.
And the last few frames of that shot are actually from a different element.
Right in the middle of the shot, it switched. That's what I had to do, is make it transparent, that you couldn't see when it switched from one element to the other. And then this is a beginning of the reel, and it was damaged as well.
There is a sequence where in 4K the difference between, you know, the first generation negative and second generation fine grain was very apparent. So, you know, to Mike's point, he had to do a lot of work to kind of balance things out. So, you know, he had to work with the contrast, he had to work with the density, we had to work with the grain as well. But so this is a particularly great example of where he hid a transition from negative to fine grain. And he actually hid it when somebody walks in front of the screen.
Two different elements.
Two different elements.
That were really looked quite different
in the raw scan.
Harry's
But
a genius at research.
I transitioned from one.
And there was a transition. Did you see it?
Harry's a genius at research. My father just fell in love with him.
You did too.
If you watch carefully, you can sort of see the grain in her face.
The grain
slightly
increases
change,
slightly
but
going forward.
So doing those kinds of transitions, but also if Mike hadn't done such a good job of balancing out the A and B sides of it, that transition still would have been more obvious than it is. We're really sensitive when we restore a movie to make it feel film-like. And for me, that involves a lot of sort of backing off of contrast in certain cases. And again, this is where technology and better color spaces help us out, because if you back off on contrast, sometimes things can look soft. So, you know, with better resolution and better color spaces, you're able to get that detail without having to lay on contrast too much, which makes things look more video-like and less film-like. So our restorations are able to sort of keep a really nice filmic quality to them. And really being able to dig into some of the really beautiful details in the backgrounds. For example, the Walk in the Moonlight scene. Somebody recently looking at that said, I can see their breaths, and I've never been able to see that before. You can just sort of see hints of these beautiful details in the background that they paid attention to at the time. Clearly, you're able to appreciate in a new way by being able to see it so clearly.
We do have digital preservation, and so we will preserve all the digits well. But we take a sort of belt, suspenders, and, I don't know, everything approach when we're talking about a title like this. And we do film out a picture negative, and we put it in our cold vault at the end. So we have a negative from the restored version as well. We love film. I call myself a film archivist. I think Laura would call herself a film archivist too. We restore film, we preserve film. We use a lot of digits to do it. So we take the archiving part of what we do very, very seriously and make sure that all the things that we've worked so hard on will be around for a while. I think watching something on film is an absolutely wonderful experience. We're working with our distribution group right now to make a few 35mm prints that people can actually watch, which is fantastic. So we try to keep that film experience alive, whether or not you're watching a piece of film. We really want to honor that as well.
You remember George. This is Mary. Well, I'll be seeing you.
Luckily, so many people love this movie, and they love it for very, very good reasons. It is an amazing film. And so I think that, it's worth it to watch it in its best possible condition, which is this high dynamic range 4K version. And it actually helps tell the story a little bit too, because detail that you haven't seen before is actually there. It's almost like every scene is its own atmosphere in this film, and very, very literally, with lots of snow or moonlight. Each scene is well crafted, and that detail tells every moment of that film, scene by scene, that you really get it so much more when you see it in this way.
I mean, they won an Academy Award for the effect of the blowing snow. So being able to see that, and it's not just sort of this blurry mess anymore, was really kind of a wonderful thing. Oh my God, I'm using the word wonderful.
It's hard not.
Right. No, but it is. But it's great to be able to see that, to really be able to appreciate anew the craftsmanship that went into making this movie.
Hey, that's pretty good. What'd you wish, Mary?
Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight? Can't you come out tonight? Can't you come out?